like 1980s in here. It's like we're at a big concert, big jam. Flush After Listening, the show where Dennis and I talk to you. You fucking listen. If you like it, you do. If you don't, you don't. We don't give a hill of beans.
Franken beans?
Hill of beans. Oh, Frank or beans. That's a whole different story. Is it the Frank or is it the beans? Was it the Frank or is it the beans? A little jam going on there. It's like 1985 all over again. I've had enough of it. Quite honestly, I don't want to go back to 1985, Dennis. There's big hair. There's just a lot of bad things in 85. 1985 was not a good year for me. Well, I was 15.
The ear clips were quite popular in 85.
I remember those. I think I had a pair of them. I was 15 and thought I was going to take over the world. Like Ren and Stimpy. I thought I was going to take over the world. What are we going to do tonight? Tonight, we are going to take over the world. It's kind of like our buddy Ricardo Montelban, Wrath of Khan.
You know, they used him here in New Mexico. You know, you drive in, like you get close to Albuquerque, and it says tune to whatever FM station, and it's Ricardo Montelban is actually telling you about New Mexico and Albuquerque.
Is Mr. Ricardo Montelban from that area? Is that why they do that, or is it just, you know?
No, he was just real popular for when they decided to do this, and so they had him record this information.
Excellent. Well, he's got a very soothing voice, and we know about this. We discussed Fantasy Island and Tattoo.
And Toto.
And Toto. And Tattoo.
Or is it
please? Tattoo, please. Entertain the guests while I go and cruise to the other side of the island. If you remember, he did the Cadillac commercials also. Cadillac.
Yeah, he did quite a bit.
It's just a sexy car.
But you never caught him doing a Hertz commercial running through the airport like OJ and jumping over suitcases.
Well, Ricardo Montelban had too much class for that. Come on, we're talking about a Latin lover here, Dennis. I mean, a Latin lover doesn't jump over things. He sits there in the lap of luxury, and he just sits there with a drink in his hand.
He killed Captain Kirk's son.
Well, that was a bogus time in his career. Ricardo Montelban is meant to be sitting there with a drink in his hand and a smoke in the other hand, and just meant to say, if you'd like to party, you can come party with me. I will entertain you. I am Ricardo Montelban. See, that's how Latin lover. You know the Latin lover kind of thing? When you get this, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. You're all hung up on Latin women. He likes some spicy folks.
Love Spanish women. They're the most.
He loves this tuna with jalapenos on it.
Spanish women are the most sexiest women in the world. There is nothing that can come close to the luxuriousness and sexiness of a Latin woman. Gorgeous. Just gorgeous. The sun rises and sets with Spanish women, Dennis. If you have not figured that out, it's time to. Anybody that is listening to this is saying, what the fuck are you talking about, Dave? Do me a favor. Just go out with a Spanish woman. You don't have to bang. You don't have to have sex. Just go out with one. Just go out on a date. Talk with them. They're very fiery, Dennis. I like the fire.
Like I said, you like your tuna with jalapenos.
I don't eat tuna, but I like, in this case, if you're referring to Spanish women as jalapenos, yeah, I'll gobble them all up.
No, they smell like tuna and taste like jalapenos.
They're fiery women. They got a lot of pizzazz. Just don't get caught cheating.
Taco Bell can cause that fire, too.
Don't get caught cheating on them. Don't get caught cheating on them. You'll be John Wayne Bobbited in no time. They'll cut your pecker off. And that's for sure. Yeah, I love that. Well, Ricardo Montelban's got it's the same kind of thing that everybody felt with what's his name, Antonio Banderas, when he came out as Zorro. Remember when he played Zorro? Now, if you think back, I think Errol Flynn played Zorro. I could be wrong on this.
He played Robin Hood.
Okay, maybe I'm fucked up then. I thought Flynn played Zorro. Maybe I'm wrong.
No.
Okay.
No, he played Robin Hood.
I got my P's confused with my Q's.
He played a couple Pirates movies.
I love pirates. You know, you got to think about it. The best thing about a fucking pirate is he just doesn't give a shit. A pirate, a traditional pirate, not these fucking Haitian pirates and all this fucking gobbledygook now, but the traditional pirate you would think he's the greatest guy in the world, and you turn around in the back and he fucks you right in the ass. The original pirates were the best. They would.
Yeah, but some of them were pretty flamboyant. Look at Blackbeard. He put cannon fuses in his beard and lit them. Scared the shit out of people.
Well, I don't know about by flamboyant. Do you mean Tinkerbell kind of flamboyant, or are they just being very chauffeur?
Flamboyant. I mean, to put cannon fuses in your beard and light them. You got all these sparks. You got all this smoke coming out.
That's not something I would do.
It's kind of flamboyant.
Not something I would do on a Saturday afternoon to entertain myself, but, I mean, yeah, it's showy. But remember something. They were usually gobbledygooked up on rum. They didn't eat correctly. They were out at sea for long periods of time. They didn't really have much human exposure, and the people they were exposed with were also savage in nature.
And they weren't very friendly with anybody. In fact, the only person got any attention was the cabin boy.
Well, that depends if they were as flamboyant as you say. I mean, that's all depending. But, I mean, you're right. They spent a lot of time in the water, and when they did land anywhere, they kept to themselves. They didn't trust anybody, which was probably the best thing, not to trust anybody. You're hulking around a lot of gold, a lot of silver, a lot of treasure. You really can't trust people. They're going to fuck you in the ass. I mean, and they buried everything, like a dog. They buried everything in the ground. I think half of them didn't know where the fuck they buried half the shit. That's how all the stuff keeps popping up.
You know, the captain was the only one that had a per se toilet in his room. Everybody else had to hang their ass off over the side of the place. So those ships could be awful stinky when they got to land.
Oof. Well, they were hanging it off the side.
Yeah, most of them had diarrhea most of the time on there.
Oh, fuck me! So why?
They just had to be sure they didn't do it over the cannons, or they'd plug them up.
Why fucking diarrhea? Because they're on the ocean?
Well, yeah, and because of their diet, you know. They drink, most of the time they were drinking alcohol. They had very little fiber foods. Most of it was fruits, and not the San Francisco kind, but they had fruits to eat.
Real fruits. Like edible fruits, not flamboyant.
Papayas and mangoes and things like that.
Not Neil.
Now, they did carry like goats, or sheep, so they did have mutton to eat if the cook would cook it. But then again, you know, the sanitary conditions in the galley were not really the best.
That's fucking 1700s. They didn't have fucking antibacterial fucking hand wipes and shit. These guys wiped their ass and
with their hand, and then went up and started chopping up the carrots.
Right. I mean, they had some water, but I mean, like, and that's the thing too. Think about this: diarrhea. How is it that diarrhea always rears its ugly head in the worst situations? You know, like, how do you really know when you're on the bowl and you have diarrhea? Everybody's going, I can't believe he's going down the shitty road, but I am. No pun intended. When you have diarrhea and you're on the bowl, how do you really know when you're done? You don't know, because you get up, you go out, you start doing something. You
take 5 steps, the next thing you know, you're back sitting down again.
Back in the shitter again, and it's But you can't play with it. I mean, it's it's got to be the worst form of illness, because it incapacitates you, because you have to find a place to relieve yourself. And if it's on the side of the road, if it's in your own shorts, if it's in your fucking, on the seat of your car, there's no stopping. You can't like have a conference with diarrhea and say, listen, diarrhea, can you hold off for like 20 more minutes? I'm almost home. Diarrhea says, fuck you, motherfucker. I am coming out, and I'm going to make you look like a grown infant in your shorts right now. And it does. It just fucking and splatters all over the fucking place. And, the worst case is when you think you have it or you've had it, and then you're afraid to fart the entire morning because you might shart yourself. I mean, you're driving with clenched ass cheeks, and you're like, I can't fart. I cannot fucking fart. If I fart, I'm going to shit my pants. And God forbid it's like a river of it. You're in the car, or you're in a meeting, or you...
I always thought the worst case scenario
always
would be caught in an elevator that the power is shut down, and you're going to be in there for 5 or 6 hours, and all of a sudden, the big D rears his ugly head.
Well, it's not such a bad situation for you. I mean, you just relieve yourself. It's a bad situation for everybody else in your company, because at this point, they're smelling this diarrhea diapered ass. Why does it always find itself to be at the most...
somebody in a whole group, if it's a crowded elevator, it's going to throw up. Now, what happens when you're in a crowd of people and you throw up?
Everybody throws up.
Other people suddenly start throwing up.
Everybody starts puking.
So when that elevator door finally gets opened by those hero firemen, chances are they're going to throw up on everybody that's in the elevator.
And they're going to see puke and diarrhea. It's going to look like a fucking bad B-movie. And why is it that diarrhea always has to find itself to come in the worst fucking times? Why can't it come in the morning when you wake up, you're at home, you got about an hour and a half to get out the door, you could spend a half an hour dealing with it? No, it's got to be a prick. It's got to decide it wants to come like 25 minutes after you've left the house, you're on the freeway, you're going to work, here comes fucking diarrhea. Diarrhea is the bad boy of all the bodily problems. I mean, you can get hiccups, you can get heartburn, you can contend with that. You can even get nausea and pull to the side of the road and vomit out your mouth. Now here comes diarrhea. You got to pull over, you got to get your fucking pants down, or you got to get to a toilet. It's just a fucking bunch of bullshit.
And you got to figure out how to angle 2 doors open so nobody sees you.
It's ridiculous. And taking a shit, aside from that, defecating is the most foulest, other than a woman's period, which I think is also nasty, but we don't have to deal with it. Taking a dump, the defecating, is the most fucking disgusting form of human bodily function there could possibly be. So if you
now
get...
Los Angeles and San Francisco have streets filled with it.
Ugh.
Because it's now legal to just drop your pants and do it right there on the sidewalk or on the curb or...
Well, that'd be okay if you got diarrhea, but, I mean, by and large, on a regular day, it's not a glorious thing to be walking down Hyde-Ashbury and people just dropping their drawers and dumping.
Well, they were dropping their drawers and doing something else back in the 60s in Haight-Ashbury.
That I could contend with, but it's kind of like watching a gangbang. But
the
I mean,
glorious hippie movement.
Well, I wouldn't mind watching that, but I don't want to watch some bum taking a shit on the side of the road. I mean, the good people of California have to realize at some point you got to pull the plug on some...
Now they got typhus. Several police officers are showing symptoms of typhus. So, let's face it, California is going down the shitter, literally.
Well, they got the shitter going on anyways. What's typhus? Like typhoid?
It's a derivative, I believe, but yeah, I mean, typhus will, people die from it.
Yeah.
Fever, chills, diarrhea.
It's the shits. The dukes. We call it the dukes. When
it's interesting that back in like the 1800s, for people that, had intestinal problems, laudanum was one of the prescribed medicines. In fact, they gave laudanum for almost everything, which is opium derivative syrup.
Hmm.
Oh, you got a headache? Here, take 2 teaspoons of laudanum. Oh, happy days, happy days.
Well, there's always happy days when you're on drugs, Dennis. If you're drunk or doing drugs, you're always happy. I mean, the opium probably caused the shits.
It's really surprising how popular the opium dens were that the Chinese ran in the 1800s. High class people, not low class, high class people, and all the way up into the mid 1920s. Opium dens were pretty popular. They were concealed. In other words, you went to a Chinese theater, and the opium den, so to speak, was through another door if they knew you.
Nothing wrong with getting high.
The people that use that go into oblivion.
Nothing wrong with getting a little high. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, I don't know. You're losing touch with reality.
Well, I guess. I'm checking something.
Yeah, I figured you were either checking something or playing with yourself. I can't really see.
Well, I'm always playing with myself, Dennis, so odds are I might be playing with myself. But bottom line is, I wasn't in a fucking opium den. But that's got to be, I don't know. I don't smoke opium. Never did. So I don't know what the fuck it's all about. But I think if you get the shits, you get the shits. When you get the shits, you have a problem. There's no controlling the shits. The shits are uncontrollable. You can't be a master of your own domain when you have the shits. We call it the dukes. When you got the dukes, you got the dukes. That's it. You're done. You're over for the day. Just put your calendar on hold. You're going to be done if you get the shits. Speaking of which, the shits in California, I haven't heard a lot of shit lately on that fucking Flacca drug. Remember everybody was taking that Flacca and eating people's flesh off and jerking off in the street and all kinds of shit?
I mean that synthetic crap that they were selling?
Yeah, that Flacca shit. I haven't heard nothing about it.
Yeah, that kind of disappeared real quick. I don't know. I haven't heard any more on it either.
It's probably because they're all fucking dead. Probably blew their brains out. Any drug that turns me into a fucking virtual zombie where I want to go out and eat people's flesh off, I got a fucking problem with that. Why would
I would too.
Why would I take it? What would be the benefits to me taking that drug? Well, let me think about it.
Cannibalistic Hannibal
Lecter. Let me think about it. I'm going to take this. I'm going to turn into a fucking zombie. I'm not going to remember anything for the next 48 hours. I'm probably going to shrivel my cock and balls up, and I want to eat human flesh. Oh, yeah, I'm in. What the fuck? Like, what's gone wrong? What about having a fucking...
It isn't really much different than the fools that were eating Tide Pods.
Oh, well, this is true.
I mean, what you got is these idiots out there that come up with some novel challenge and, I'm going to go eat a Tide Pod, just like they do on Facebook,
Well, I'll tell you what.
And then they wonder why they no longer have an esophagus.
Well, I unfortunately I can't understand it. If I was going to get that fucked up, I'd rather drink a couple of liters of Mad Dog or Boone's Farm and wake up with a shit hangover and not be on a freeway or on the side of the road chewing somebody's fucking arm off and waking up in a police station the next day and finding out that I ate 3 people's forearms off. Sitting nude on the news.
That urban myth that went around that if you want to pass your employer's drug test, dip some cotton balls in bleach and swallow them.
Never heard of that.
That's really going to take and clean you out.
I never heard of it.
Yeah.
A fucked up situation for a fucked up society. A society that is quickly decaying, quickly falling to pieces, and there's not a fucking good damn thing you can do about it. They get stupider every day, Dennis.
Did you forget that, on a serious note...
No, I didn't forget it.
Today is the anniversary of D-Day.
I did not forget it. I know that. Absolutely, I know. Today is D-Day. And it's unfortunately that I won't get into it, because if I get into it, it'll turn into a rant, and I don't want us to go too long here. But I'll just say my grandfather was involved with it, as well as probably your dad and your relatives. So it's a day that it's definitely a day to sit and think about it for a moment and understand what it was. But, you know, I bet you half the country doesn't even know what the fuck we're talking about. So,
well,
again,
I saw an interesting poll today, just on a little short brief on politics, then we'll get off.
Yep.
You know, I mean, just one little short deal, that a brand new poll shows that Hillary Clinton is leading in the demographics of Civil War and World War I veterans who have turned Democrat.
They're still alive?
No, they're dead, but they turned Democrat. No vote for.
Well, it's amazing how they're voting and registering and still involved a couple hundred years later, right from the grave. A good 150 years later or so, my math may be off, but Civil War veterans are still, they're all behind Hillary.
Yes.
I find that very odd. Now, wait a minute. Are you alluding to the fact that there's some fraudulent activity going on in politics?
Oh, I would never do that.
Do you think politics in general...
I leave the question open for all those fine folks out there who are listening.
Okay.
Is whether or not something ill may be taking place.
You're saying there's something something rotten in Denmark. Right. Yeah, well, listen, when it comes to politics, you know what I'm going to say.
I know.
Absolutely, you can't trust politicians, you can't trust Hollywood, and guess what? A lot of times, you can't even trust your own friends around you. You got to be careful, folks. Eyes wide open. Or is it eyes wide shut? I don't know. It's one of them fucking two.
One of those deals.
Sounds like shit to me either ways. Either way, we just wanted to have a quick discussion about the things that make things go. Things that make you go, Flush after listening with myself and Dennis.
Yes, me.
And we will see you.
Say it.
Go for it.
Good night, Amadeus.
Adios, arrivederci.